Hey there, today I am back in my garden and today I'm going to share what I planted last year and what I did last year in the fall garden and what I'm going to do this year, or some of the things I'm hoping to do. Fall is I don't know, summer and fall is like tough. I love the summer garden, but close to this time of year it gets really hot, and so I start dreaming about fall and all the things that you can plant in the fall in your garden. The pollinators are really active right now. The butterflies are out everywhere. The garden is in bloom. The zinnias, the dahlias, the Mexican sunflowers, the marigolds, a lot of things are in bloom right now. It's just like full peak bloom season, lots of pollinators everywhere, but it is just so hot that I have been daydreaming a lot about cooler weather, September coming, and just what I'm going to plant and enjoy when it cools off a little bit. So going back to last year in the fall, I'm going to share the playlist either at the end or in the description, but I have a fall playlist, so you can go back and watch everything I did last year. But last year in the fall, I started planning and trying to think of things that would make it a few more months into our fall season, because I live in zone 8B, so it is very warm. It's really hot for months, and we can continue to plant, but then you can also start some plants that are going to tolerate cooler weather. So I know early last year in September, I started planting calendula, and I planted a few more zinnias, and then I think I may have also planted some marigolds, but I was trying to plant those calendula because those are like a cool season flower. I actually planted those last September, and I had a lot of them in the garden. Several of them made it, and then they made it all the way to this year. Also last year I shared this book, which is called Cool Flowers. The Lisa Mason Ziegler, she also has like a great YouTube channel. Oh, straw flowers. I don't know how I could forget that. I also planted straw flowers from seed. I'm sure you could buy those at the garden center already starts, but I haven't seen them yet, but you can plant. That's another good one in here. But this book has it tells you all the different varieties for fall, and then in the back of the book it tells you the different varieties of plants, and if it's hardy, like winter hardy in your zone, like it'll say to zone 8 to zone 5. And I got a lot of good ideas out of this book last year, so you might want to check this out from your library, or there may be like an ebook version. I ordered mine from Amazon. I think it was like $12, but this book was really fun, and I got a lot of information from this and from her YouTube channel, where she shares a lot of information. I think she also has another book. I have our local stores like Home Depot and Lowe's, but I also have a garden center really close to me that has like beautiful plants, and I got several plants from there last year. I've gotten a few perennials this year, and so I am very excited to start visiting, like maybe going closer to early September, mid-September, to see what they have out, because last year I visited there for the first time in the fall to see what they had, to start planting for the fall, to see what I could plant to extend my garden longer instead of just having only hot season annuals. The thing I'm really excited about last year in September, I think it was September, it could have been October, but I went to Costco, and Costco will put out a large selection of fall planted bulbs, and also they had ornamental grasses. So I cannot wait. I'm going to take a trip to Costco and take a trip to the garden center. I cannot wait to take a trip to Costco the day where they've started to put out the fall bulbs, because last year I somehow kind of slept on that, and I've seen a lot of people have videos of things that they purchased that they really enjoyed. So again, if you're trying to plan a fall garden and you don't know what you can plant, just try to visit your garden center. You could just try to visit your garden center and see what they have, because my garden center, I asked them a couple weeks ago, the one that's close to me, so what are you gonna have, when are you gonna have like the winter, when are you gonna have like the fall annuals and perennials? And they said probably closer to middle of September. Well, actually in September or October, you know, it's always a good time for me to start adding more perennials to the garden. I think this year I'm going to try to plant a few from seed, but I'm also just going to go ahead and buy some because then they'll already be established, and then they can get like, you know, stronger roots over the winter, and then next spring and hopefully next summer and next fall I will have more blooming perennials in the garden instead of, you know, just very small versions of that plant. Last October I planted Snapdragons for the first time, so that was one of the plants at the garden center that I got that I was the most surprised. I've never planted Snapdragons, and I bought, like, I don't know, I think I bought 18. I think I bought 18 to start, and they did so, you know, they did so well, like in that current, you know, temperatures, that I went back and I think I bought 18 more, and I may have even gone back and bought 18 more because it was like a 6-pack. And then I planted those in the garden in early October. I probably could have planted them in, oh, there's a hummingbird. So I went back and I bought more, and then anyway, I planted those and they did so well that I'm definitely planting Snapdragons again. They lasted, I don't know that I got really a lot of blooms. I don't know that I really got a lot of blooms in the fall, but in the spring I had early blooms. I don't know, I can't remember, I'll look, see if it was March, but it was March, April, maybe all the way till May. And then I finally ended up pulling those because it just got too hot. I don't know, it's possible I could have cut them down and they would have made it, but I just decided I'll just get some more this year. But those were a must-have from the garden center, and I think they had different varieties where there was like a mid-size, medium, and then taller, and I think I mostly got the taller variety. So I had some little fun projects in the garden last year where I took some pumpkins that jack-o'-lanterns that I have had for, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years. I got those. I repainted those in the fall. That was super fun. That's something I did outside. Also, my husband and my son made this potting bench for me, I think in September. So they made it in September. They got pallets, just free pallets. They looked on YouTube and found like a tutorial on how to make a potting bench. So they made this potting bench with pallets, and then we went and got, like, the top of it is pine, I think pine boards. So we went and got just that piece from Home Depot and probably spent the most on that. I mean, that was probably about $50 or $60 for that piece, or it may have been 30 or 40. I can't remember at the moment. But then I stained that. I never sealed it. I should have done that, but I may do that still this year. I may restain it, kind of clean it up, and seal the top just so it'll be like protected, like almost like you would do a deck. Also, what surprised me, I bought dianthus, and I bought just, I don't know, maybe a 6-pack of dianthus. Some of those are still alive, barely, but that's because I really haven't taken care of them. But I bought a pack of dianthus, so I will definitely be buying more of those because they're definitely perennial in my area, and they were alive during the coldest time that we had. I don't even think I covered them up. I think it probably only got maybe down to 20 degrees here, Fahrenheit, at the coldest. We had a couple, one freeze and then one hard freeze where we had like an ice storm, and they just kept going like nothing, like nobody's business. Also, another good thing to plant in the fall that I forgot to mention, for maybe kind of around September, I usually plant carrots just for fun, just to have some carrots. I don't plant a lot of vegetables, but I almost always every year plant a little patch of carrots. And then the other thing that you should consider planting is either for fun, like in pots, planters, or in your garden beds, raised beds, in-ground beds, are cover crops. But the one that I've had the really good success with 2 to 3 years in a row are crimson clover. Let me see, I have those right here. I planted these I probably planted these actually in the winter, but you could still plant these in the fall and the winter. They're not probably going to get super big, but they overwintered some pretty harsh conditions in my area. You can look that up. And you know, and then in April I had beautiful like red crimson clover in the garden. I mentioned that I bought some ornamental grass from Costco. I planted those last October. Those those have not really done what I hoped, and I think it's where I have them planted. But they are green right now, and they're supposed to turn a different color. I think they're called Little Blue Stem Jazz, but I plan to get some more of those bigger varieties and plant them in another area of my garden. And I may actually get some to plant in these containers that I have, or just buy several of those just to kind of pop around the corners of the garden that kind of aren't really filled in very well, to get some of those like just taller plants in the background to make it look a little more interesting during the season where there's nothing blooming. I don't know if you can see. You can see the butterflies behind me. They're so pretty. They're everywhere right now. The last little section that I'm going to talk about or the last little part of my fall garden that I'm going to talk about is what I planted last November, or what I did last November. I think I had kind of shifted to more like garden cleanup, and I had shifted to more like kind of projects and garden cleanup and things that I do in the fall. One of the things that I do in the fall that I'll do again this year, I also had a video about that where it's closer to the end of November, but I will take the trees I have in this yard. I have one tree, but it drops a pretty good amount of leaves, but they're so beautiful. They're red and orange and yellow, pretty leaves. It's a Bradford pear, which I know a lot of people don't like those. It doesn't bother me. And I have one, my neighbor has one, so those leaves will fall, and I will take those leaves and use my little push mower, chop those up, bag them, chop them up fairly small, and put them in the garden in the winter for leaf mulch. They will kind of break down over the winter. They do not fully break down, but I can kind of work them into the soil the next spring, and then they kind of keep the weeds suppressed a little bit more in the winter, and it just kind of tops the garden off for the end of the year. One thing I'm really excited about doing this year that I kind of slept on, as people say, they like bird feeding. I have a little bird feeder set up. It's really just a bird bath, but it's like just a little bowl, like glass bowl, and I keep it cleaned out every week. If it rains, I rake those out and then add more, but I've just added some today, trying to keep my little bird bath with water, because that has become a big source of joy for me to see the birds to come out here. There's mourning doves, cardinals, bluebirds, I got the other types of birds, but anyway, it has been so much fun to see them come here to eat, and just have like a little safe place they know that can come. So I think that is really all I have for today. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching. I hope that you will follow along my journey this fall as we try to cool off in the garden. It is definitely, the heat is getting to me. So I am looking forward to like fall gardening. Again, I'm going to be visiting my garden center with you. I'm going to take you to the garden center, show you what they have. I'm also going to visit Costco and hopefully get lots of fun things there, and then work on my little projects with like my bird feeders, and see what else I can do this fall to just kind of keep the garden interesting and fun. Again, if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. I'm going to share all the playlists either over here, the fall garden playlist, and I may share it in the description below. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.